active member? The kind that would be missed? Or are you just content that your name is on the list? Do you attend the meetings and mingle with the flock? Or do you just stay at home and criticize and knock? Do you take an active part to help the club along? Or are you satisfied to just belong? Do you push the cause along and make things really thick? Or leave the work to just a few and talk about the clique? Think this over, brother. You know right from wrong. Are you an active member? Or do you just belong?
Welcome to Patched, where we look at the personal impact of life in outlaw motorcycle clubs. This week, my co-host, Justin Mooch Delaroto, and I sit down with former Mongol, Lil Dave.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Patch Podcast. I'm Mooch. You guys know my co-host, Jason, and today we have with us my good friend, Lil Dave. What's up, Dave?
How you doing, guys?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to
So a
see
little
you
background
guys.
is Dave was a longtime member of the Mongols Motorcycle Club. I'll have him share that in a little bit. And so Dave and I have known each other for over 15 years due to that. And then Jason, if you want to explain a little bit about how you and Dave know each other.
Dave and I kind of ran into each other at these COC meetings, coalition of clubs. But I'd say more or less like our relationship that we have now started after Dave was exiting the club. Wouldn't you say that would be about accurate, Dave?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Dave, if you want to go a little bit more into that, you're more than welcome. It's probably easier for you to give explanation on how we came to be close.
Yeah, so I first met Jason at the Coalition of Clubs when we were started a movement called Save the Patch. And, it stemmed from the government 2008 indictment against the Mongols Motorcycle Club. And Jason was heavily involved, as I was, to try to, facilitate other clubs to come on board to start the movement of Save the Patch and get everybody behind the movement to pursue keeping our patch, so nobody else had to go through what we went through. And Jason and I built a relationship, and when I exited the club back in 3 years ago, he reached out to me, and we just started talking again and just going through things and developed a relationship. For the last 3 years, we've become pretty tight. So that's where our relationship stemmed from, and continue to have a relationship to this point to today. And
just to spread out on that is like what Justin and I talked about in the first episode is that most people can't imagine that even Mooch and I would be talking, or someone like Dave and I would be talking with our backgrounds and the history between our clubs, but we realize that we have more in common than we know, and that there is a larger goal out there, and the true brotherhood is with like-minded people. If you want to put it in that perspective, but just me getting to know Dave and Dave getting to know me, it's like there's so many commonalities in the way we live our lives, the way we raise our families, the goals we have for the future. How we still think about the club, even though we're out, how we still worry about brothers. All that stuff, you can't pull it away, and so I feel like that's what's really created us to have a strong bond. Like I said, it's not a common thing. It's but this is kind of why we're talking, to show people that you can have an open mind and find brotherhood in people who aren't wearing the same patch as you. And that's it. It takes a little bit to think outside the box, but believe me, the rewards are huge. So just wanted to throw that out there to everybody.
I think what's good for our viewers to recognize is, right now we're all talking because we're all ex-members, but when you guys met, the two clubs weren't getting along on the street, right? And Save the Patch really brought you guys together despite, even as active members. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt, nobody was getting along at the time. And, it goes in waves where there might be some talk about some things, or some areas where it's calm, or some areas where it's not. But what we realized is that if we don't jump on this bandwagon, like Dave was saying, the next club was going to be us, right? And I'm not going to say that it hasn't been in the years to come, but it was going to be a downward spiral effect to all the clubs, and we saw that, the writing on the wall. If they could knock out Dave's club, then they were going to come after our club next. Then they were going to be going after the Outlaws, the Banditos, and so on until all we would be left with was mom and pop clubs. And so we wanted to make sure we at least put our best foot forward into trying to keep everybody out of prison. I described it to my own club when I would talk to them was the incident that happened in Twin Peaks in Texas, right? A bunch of people go there, not necessarily banditos, not necessarily one percenters, but people that were all just there to have one common cause. And look what happened. You know, shit breaks out, and then they just rounded up every single person in the parking lot and put them in, detained them for 4 weeks minimum. And the way I explained it was, who can afford to be away from their family and jobs for 4 weeks? Just think about it. How much money would that cost you? So thinking that way helped, us spark their relationship and understand that there was something bigger than just worrying about, I'm mad at you because of the color of your patch. And I think that it paid off. So,
Dave, would you say that
go ahead.
Dave, would you say that Save the Patch, were you able to build relationships with other club members through Save the Patch? Did that make it easier than just, regular club stuff?
Yeah, and it actually opened the doors to build relationships with other clubs that I normally wouldn't have, opened the door to. And these, the Save the Patch movement, when it first started, it took about a year to catch real traction. But me going to all the NCOMs that happen once a year, we would have NCOM meetings, so National Coalition of Motorcycle Club meetings out in Texas. We've had them in Denver, we've had them in Florida. So basically all over the country, they would have it once a year, Mother's Day weekend. And I would speak on Save the Patch, and other clubs would speak on biker profiling. So it's all biker community stuff to just basically everybody's like trying to have a say in the biker community regarding what's going on. So it's like very proactive, and you don't get that with a lot of other organizations, but with the biker community, everybody stepped up and helped out in our Save the Patch movement. So, and that's really where Jason and I developed a great relationship, and he was basically with me. Him and a couple of other Vagos were with me every step of the way and making that happen. So.
For our viewers that don't know, can you just give a brief example or brief description of what Save the Patch was?
Right. So it was, the Save the Patch was part of a coalition of clubs, the COC. And what we all did, we all came together for a common goal and cause, was just to fight the government for First Amendment right issues. And, if they could take our patch, they could take everybody else's. So it would have been a domino effect in the long run. And everybody was worried. I was worried. Everybody was worried. But we all thought, in the end, we were all going to be saved by the First Amendment rights. Freedom of speech. If they could do it to us, they could do it to everybody. Catholic Church, anybody that wore a symbol, on their back or had a symbol regarding their organization. So it was a pretty heavy situation going into it. Nobody knew what the outcome was going to be, but we all expected it would end up in the Supreme Court at one point or another. It made it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal twice. Once they kicked it out, the second time they gave the government a chance to prove their case, which they did, and we were convicted. But in the end, it went back to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where we prevailed and we won the final decision. And it was up to the government to pursue to go to the Supreme Court, and to this day they haven't. So the verdict, the ruling came down, I believe, about a year and a half ago in the club's favor, the Mongols Motorcycle Club, which would have affected everybody. So we basically did it so nobody else had to. So we were the test case for the government. It was a David and Goliath fight for sure. And we were under indictment for 13 years. So it was a long haul. It was scary at times. You didn't know what was going to happen. But in the end, we prevailed. Justice prevailed in our favor, so we were good. And that's where it ended up. I mean, we spent millions of dollars in hundreds of thousands of dollars, equaling about $1.5 million in fines, and court costs and paying all the lawyers and transcript fees. It was a lot of work. I mean, being an international president at the time, I mean, you would think you'd be hanging out at bars all day long, drinking beers and hanging out with the brothers, but it was a lot of, we did a lot of heavy lifting as far as like legal work and research and flying on planes and speaking, just to keep the movement going and keeping the traction going on it. So.
And to clarify, that case went on, you said, for 13 years, right?
Correct. The original indictment came down October 21st of 2008, and we didn't go to trial, like we're jury trial, until 2017, and it went into the 18th year. 2018. So it was a long haul. It was taxing. Trust me, taxing, very taxing. Not on me, on the club as a whole, because they're trying to steal our identity and take everything that we've ever known, and as far as history and tradition of our club. So like I said, it would have been a domino effect. So we basically rode the whole thing out, and in the end we won.
It was a thankless job. It was tough for people to keep up with it, but the group that we worked with, like Dave said, guys from the Vagos, the Hessians,
Right.
Hells Angels, Mongols, Banditos, even guys from the Outlaws and other motorcycle clubs, Sons of Silence, they put in the effort because they could see that if we stepped back to do nothing, then they were just going to walk all over us, and it would have just crushed the motorcycle culture. It would have crushed it.
Yeah. One thing I want to say on that is, like, everybody's like probably recognized that we were all under one roof and nobody was fighting, or like everybody left their dirty laundry at the door. We would meet under one roof. It was a gentleman's agreement, honor amongst thieves. Whatever happens at the tables happens at the tables, and when we leave, that's another story. So everybody was really good about keeping their cool, their composure when we all met under one roof. Outlaws would be there, banditos would be there, so Sons of Silence, pagans. So it was crazy to see that many 1%er clubs under one roof and nothing kicking off. And it's a true testament to everybody just being men, and and fighting a common goal, which is a federal government.
Yeah, I think it's a great example of showing how clubs could work together if it wasn't
Right.
for the street stuff or what's happening outside. Like you said, everyone's able to put it to the side and work together, and they really showed what could happen when everyone works together. I think it was a really good example of that.
The network is never ending. I mean, like, that was just to save the patch, but what Dave and I and other guys saw, what the possibilities could be of just that group or the whole group working together, mind blowing how it could have transformed from there. But yeah, it's hard to take ego out of it. When we get out of the room, like Dave said, when you get out of that hotel lobby and you're out back home, good luck. So. But yeah, when we were together and the like-minded people were in the same room, there was nothing we couldn't take on. And there were guys that would work countless hours on this stuff, just because they were passionate about it.
Yeah, so Dave, to take it back, what first got you into motorcycles, and then what made you interested in joining a motorcycle club?
So that's a great question. I mean, everybody always asks me that. So I started riding dirt bikes when I was like 8-9 years old in my elementary school. One of my good friends had dirt bikes, so every day after school we'd go ride dirt bikes in his backyard. We'd be skateboarding, BMXing. I was always active as a kid. There was no video games really, like Atari was the only thing, so we were really active as kids on the streets. So riding dirt bikes was fun, and then graduated to riding Jap bikes and running on the streets and boosting bikes and just acting like fools. And I got my first Harley when I was, I think, like 22, 23 years old, and just started riding and just loved the freedom of it and just being out on the streets, and it's just a whole, just being free and just in my thoughts and my bike. And it just opened up a whole new avenue, just like to release, like just to be out there and just have fun. So that's what kind of drew me to it. And then I ran into one of my club brothers. He was probably about a 2-year member at the time, and I'd grown up in the streets with them in El Sereno, and his name's Giovanni. He's a nomad now, and he got me into Green Hell with the Vagos one day when we were coming from Paramount Studios, after a run, we were hanging around, a bunch of Mongols and us, and a bunch of hang-arounds, me being one of them. Went to Green Hell, and fuck, I was hooked, man. I loved it. It was great. Just that whole outlaw 1%er scene. It was just something I had never experienced, and I just dug it.
How old were you when you first started hanging around then?
26. I was 26. So I hung around the club probably a good 9 months before I patched in. So I did a lot of grunt work. I was Bobby Loco's chauffeur. Like, I took him everywhere. I would pick him up. So I basically was doing prospect grunt work, without knowing it. But I did it because I just loved hanging out. I loved the Brotherhood. It was really cool. Like, I saw how tight everybody was, how everybody had each other's back, how they just carried themselves on the street, and how well respected they were in the biker community. I had never seen anything like that. I was young. I was 26 years old. So me being a new rider in the Harley scene, I was just like, wow. I was just like, I was struck, and I was smitten. It was a good thing.
Yeah, you answered my next question was going to be what kind of things you saw that impressed you and made you want to join. But you answered that question. I was 26 when I joined too.
Yeah, just the structure of it. Just being accountable for you, and as a man, I didn't really grow up with a dad. I had my mom. I had a stepdad, but he wasn't really a dad to me. But so being in that type of environment, yearning for that father figure or that role model figure, I guess that's kind of what I was looking for as well. And I found that with Bobby Loco, like that was my club daddy, my sponsor. I mean, he wasn't that much older than me, but because he was from the club and the way he was a real smart guy, and the way he carried himself, and he was really like about tradition and the history of the club is why he grew me the way, and I turned out the way I did, because I got taught right.
Yeah, and that's something that we've been talking about a lot in the last couple episodes, with pretty much everybody is, what were you looking for when you joined that club, right? And you kind of hit it by saying, like, looking for that, either the father figure or even the mentor, right, by saying that Bobby Loco was your guy, right? And I think a lot of guys have that same thing, and when they click with that one guy, they're like, finally, I'm not alone, I guess you could say,
right,
in some aspect, or at least, for a lot of guys who are, maybe they're the oldest kid in the family, they're always got all the stressors and the pressures on them because they are the oldest kid. But then when they find the club and they find that guy that they're going to hang out with, and he's like their mentor, it's almost like, I can take a step back for a second and just like kind of soak this in. I don't need to be the guy who knows everything or has to answer the questions on the spot, right? And it's a good feeling for a while, and that fades away, right? Because eventually, then you take on a leadership position, or you start getting involved and doing the work, and then before you know it, you're in the system, and next thing you know, you're running stuff, right? So, like, yeah, the initial thing of like looking for that mentor, that guy, I think a lot of us just have that. Like, there's so many guys I know that got in the club in like the 70s, 80s, and early 90s that say like, oh, I hung out with so-and-so, or I was, I always looked at them when they rode down the road, and I finally got my chance to hang out, and that's what they were looking for. So when they found it, that was a huge relief, right? That stays with you for a while.
Right. I kind of came in on that cusp where, like, it was still kind of like the old school, the old mentality. You got the older brothers that are still hanging around, just like spun out on fucking meth, or, cranksters, as you would call them, Jason. And it was a whole different club back then. Trust me when I tell you this. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, in a sense, where it's like, I got to a little taste of the old school mentality and how it evolved to it is now, which is way totally different, which I would never imagine it would turn out the way it would now. But times change, politics change. I mean, it's a whole different era. Prison sentences are stiffer. You could get, Jason, I mean, there was a Hell's Angel murdered by 3 Mongols at a bar. What was it, Fat Tony or whoever it was down there, Big Ray or whatever, down in San Diego, and all those brothers, all 3 of the Mongols got 5 years each on a manslaughter. You do that shit today, it's a wrap. You're done. 20 to life. So, the RICO has hit all 1%er clubs. I mean, the Outlaws have gotten hit ugly with RICO. All their ex-national presidents, from Taco Bowman to Milwaukee Jack, and now to probably Tommy O. Tommy O's probably never going to see the light of day again, but who knows? I mean, I wish him the best. But with that position carries a lot of weight and prison sentences, just like the Banditos, Jeff and John. They're doing 25 to life on RICO, both of them. So it never ends. I mean, they just got Conan from the Pagans and got him on a gun beef, and I think he did another 3 or 4 more years on top of the 16 he already gave the feds. So this is something you're a target by law enforcement wearing that 1%er patch. And it's no joke, it's all fun and games if somebody gets busted and you got to do the time. And the feds have a 98% conviction rate, and they usually try to flip somebody in order to, steamroll everybody down the road. So
okay, Dave, so you just mentioned you couldn't have predicted back then in the 90s how the club is now, right? So you said I couldn't imagine how the club is now. So can you describe to us what your vision was of the club going to be when you first started, and how it is now, and how you view it?
Yeah, I kind of felt like just the way we had the club structured so well, I thought it would be infinite. There's no stopping us. We're going to continue to grow. The growth and expansion was happening all over the world, from Southeast Asia to Germany to Russia and everywhere in between, and all through the States. And I had a really good team. We worked harmoniously as a unit. Mooch was part of that team. It was our regional reps. I never say I did it. We all did it individually and collectively together. And in the end, when I exited the club, I just kind of saw it for what it was. It's like Brotherhood's, watered down. It's not what it used to be. And it's not just me that was affected. Other clubs are being affected. You've got 40, 50-year members that have been in the club that long and have been thrown out bad. They're out bad now. They're ostracized from the club. And that's essentially what happened to me. And I just see it time and time again with the Mongols, the Hells Angels, and other clubs. And it's like, this isn't what I signed up for. This is supposed to be a brotherhood where we all have each other's back. And, my circumstances were a little different. I kind of just gave up in the end. I just was so tired of the politics and always having to look over my shoulder, not just by law enforcement. It was just people that are in my own cabinet, my own regime, that were just being shady. And, every year when we were doing elections, it just felt a little different. It just wasn't the same as when we first started. So to me, it's like, I wouldn't change anything, because everything that I did, I have no regrets. I still have love for the club. It's just that, right now, the administration that's in play right now, it ain't going to give me my day in court. And at this point, whether they do down the road or not, I'm not even losing sleep over it no more. I'm over it. It's been a 3-year struggle for, just getting back on my feet and just integrating myself back in a normal society and breaking all those old bad habits of being a 1%er. And what I mean by that is just like, you're always looking over your shoulder. I mean, I know I still got enemies. I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, I was in the club for almost 25 years. So, Hell's Angels see me on the street or whatever, it's probably still going to be on and cracking. But, cross that bridge when I get to it. I hope it doesn't get to that, but it is what it is. And, all these clubs are it's changing. And I can't say it's for the better, but some are staying where they're at. Like some clubs like the Pagans and stuff, Outlaws are really just old school, but they're not evolving. And I just felt like we had such a stronghold on the biker community that everybody wanted to be a Mongol. I mean, it may be a little biased, but I just think we had a lot to offer. And our program wasn't easy, but it was comfortable. And I made it that way with everything we put in place. I would talk to my state reps. Hey, what's going on in your area, like Mooch and Yin Yang in Florida, everybody was on the same page. All my leaders, we all had the same vision moving forward. So that was the only disappointing thing, you know, and things like with time, things change. I feel like history is repeating itself with the club because you got a bunch of guys from the '08 raids that went to prison for selling dope and doing all kinds of dumb shit that are now running the club. So it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all.
Dave, I heard you talked a little bit about the structure, and when we were talking about what attracts people to the club, I think a lot of people get attracted because of this club structure, whether it's Jason's old club, our old club. You know, there's a lot of rules. People always laugh at, they want to be outlaws and they got more rules than regular people.
Right.
But with that type of structure comes a lot of work, right? A lot of effort. It affects your life quite a bit. So early on, how did it affect, how did you balance being a club member versus being a family member versus work? And then how did that evolve as you got, more position or leadership in the club?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. My family definitely took a back seat, but you got to remember when I first came into the club, my wife and I were going through some shaky times, and I wasn't with her. We were estranged for 9 months. So I was just kind of doing my own thing, figuring out my own path in life, and I ended up joining the club. So it wasn't like, I had any strings attached. I had nothing to worry about. I was pretty much single. And then I ended up getting back with my wife, and she just basically accepted, my new lifestyle. She wasn't happy about it because she just wasn't vibing with the whole situation. It's not for everybody. The 1%er outlaw scene is not for everybody. I mean, you get called in the middle of the night to go put in work, or somebody gets beat up at a bar. You got to go make sure they get the fuck out of there. But at the end of the day, my family took a back seat for years. And I'm repairing that relationship now. And I didn't know how much it affected them until, I'm out of the club now 3 years, and now I'm starting to spend time with them. But I could see the effects of it, how it changed them and how it impacted their lives. And I didn't know. I had no clue at all until I exited the club. So it's kind of like divine intervention. I'm gaining my relationship back with my kids and my family and my wife, and I'm really super close to all my grandkids, and I feel like I'm a better grandpa than I ever was a dad. And I know it's never too late, but that's what I'm doing now. So I'm happy where I'm at. I'm doing well.
We had a previous guest that brought that up, and the way he framed it I thought was really cool, worth repeating, is that he said, he prospected and put in work for a club, and now that that's gone, he's prospecting and showing his worth to his family now. And I thought that was a cool way to look at it, because that sounds very similar to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, Dave, why we invited you on here, obviously, because, Mooch and I both know you, but we're talking about mental health, right? We're trying to reach out to brothers that, are probably in a dark place, or they might be on the verge of that, and they need to talk to somebody. And this is also for the general public, anyone that's watching the show, right? So it's just to show everybody that we're just as much human as anyone else, right? So I think my question to you, Dave, is how the struggle that you went through, right, when you were exiting the club and all that drama that went on, truthfully, brother, how did it affect you on a day-to-day basis? I mean, and how did you come out of that without falling down a fucking really bad tunnel? What was your coping mechanisms for that?
I had a really good support system. It was a real big struggle. I had just heard that they had a meeting, which was a lie, that they threw me out, whatever. I just took it on the chin. And then my first reaction, I was on my patio of my house, and there was a large glass vase that I punched. It shattered everywhere, and my finger was half hanging, I had a flap, I had tendons cut, and so it was a bad start to already bad situation. It just kept getting worse, and I had to have surgery, and it was just a big old thing. So that set the tone to just I took a nosedive. I was at the bars drinking every day. I was in a bad place. I was in a bad headspace, man. I was taking it out on my wife. I was taking it out on everybody and not owning up to my shit, and truly it was all my fault. I brought it on myself. I wasn't taking ownership until I finally realized that all the hurt I caused my family, and all the bad situations I put them in, and it was just a tough situation. It wasn't easy. And you reached out to me, Jason, and I appreciate that. And from there, you and I developed a great relationship. We ended up building a rapport and a good relationship. And, you know, we've had our dinners, and you guys were a good support system for me, you know, to try to get over this hump. And it really impacted my life, man. It was good shit, man. And, you know, just hanging out with you guys. But just with that alone wasn't enough. You know, I had to find myself because, you know, obviously dinners here and there and talking on the phone isn't gonna, you know, I was broken, man. I was broken in the worst way. You know, even talking to Mooch, after Mooch, you know, I think it was like 6 or 8 months later, he exited the club as well, and we started really getting tight. And, you know, I was like really like hoping I could find a crew I could start hanging out with to kind of just get over this hump, you know. Like Mooch was always been blessed, man. He had a crew of everybody, like a bunch of dudes that rode and kind of took his mind off of things, you know. And I know he was going through the same struggles I were, because when you're from an organization that long, I mean, 24 years, almost 25 years, that's a long time. It's like a bad divorce, you know. You're going through it. But, you know, there was times like I didn't give a fuck if I lived or died, man. I was just, and it wasn't just because of the club. It was everything. It was my relationship with my wife. She didn't trust me anymore. Like, I just had to redeem myself, and I didn't know how. And I just started trying to fix myself, you know, started reading books and you know, watching podcasts. And Jason, you turned me on to some books that I've read, and I just was trying to looking for help. And then some days I would just fucking go off the rails, you know, drink and do blow. And, you know, the come down on cocaine is just tough, man. And there was a day where I just didn't give a fuck anymore. I wanted to take my own life. It was crazy. I just came home one day, coming down off a 2-day bender, and I didn't care if I lived or died anymore. I went in the garage to try to blow my fucking brains out, and the gun fucking got jammed. And that's a true fucking story. And but it took me to have to like get to that point. Like I had to come down ugly, because I was a coward. I couldn't just pull the trigger on. I had to be on a good one, just coming down hard. I don't think I ever shared that with either of you, but yeah, it was a bad situation, man. My mother-in-law came down and talked me off the ledge, and it was just a bad thing. And I stopped doing drugs. I curtailed my drinking and started getting back in the gym and getting healthy, going back to church, you know, and just rededicated my life back to God, man, and just started going back to church a year ago. Got baptized, so July 8th of last year. So I did a 180, man. I just had to get back on my feet. I had to get back working. I wasn't working. My business was falling in the toilet. Like, the bail bonds business was shitty because everybody was ostracizing me doing that too. Like, the club was telling everybody that used to send me bonds, and they were like, no, don't send them nothing. So it was just everything. Everything just finally came to a head, and I just had to try to, you know, just try to get back on my feet, heal, and move forward. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm living my best life right now, man. Like, my relationship with my kids is great. With my wife is getting better daily, and I thank God that I'm able to still be here and, you know, just move forward.
We appreciate you sharing that, brother. I know it's tough, but
yeah, it was tough.
It means a lot.
Really tough, man. So right now I'm just like, everybody cracks up because I never used to smoke weed, man, and I smoke cannabis every night. It chills me out. It decompresses me. It's been a game changer for me, to be really honest with you. It's been I don't do coke anymore. I barely even drink. Maybe on a Friday night I'll drink a couple of beers, but I don't get all smashed. I'm not hanging out the bars 11, 12 hours a day. That was making it worse. I was making a bad situation worse, but I didn't know no better. That's what I had been doing for the last 24 years. Drinking and partying and keeping up with all the brothers and hanging out. It was part of our lifestyle, our culture, you know, and that's what when I say divine intervention, healing, and all that good stuff, it came at a price, but my life didn't get taken over it. You know what I mean?
So Dave, you know, you already kind of mentioned some people, you know, that you clicked up with that have left club life, but for other people that, you know, spent years in that club life and now they're trying to transition back to civilian life,
Right.
What kind of advice would you give them? Like, what are some positive, healthy things they could do so that they don't have to go through some of those ups and downs that we did?
Yeah, so you got to remember there's always going to be triggers. Triggers are like you're on social media and you see Mongols in a pack, on social media or somewhere. Those are triggers for me, so I try to stay off of the internet. Not that it's like, oh, I miss it and all that. It triggers. It brings back memories, and I just don't want to even deal with that. And it's hard because I'm in the San Gabriel Valley in California, and I basically have, I don't know, endless amounts of chapters around this area. So I'm surrounded by Mongols all day. So, and that's not even an issue because I don't even see them. They don't go to places I go to, so I don't even have an issue with that. And if I do run into them, either they go or I leave. It's a mutual respect. But being in the lifestyle so long, and you just got to kind of find your own way. The advice I could just give you is just do you. Try to find things like a new hobby. I like to go to the gym and train and work out. I go to church now. I go out to eat on Sundays with my family. I'm really family oriented. And you know what? My family never left me. They were always there, no matter how much of an asshole I was and how many times the cops came here to save everybody from me nutting up, I had some really bad episodes here. I would come in hot some nights, banging on like 2 or 3 cars in my driveway and then leave. I was just on a rampage. You remember, bro. I would run into my old lady's G-Wagon. My dually smashing them, everybody's cars in the driveway. Fuck, cops would be called. I'd be fucking loaded, run out, fucking go to another bar. I was just on a rampage. I didn't care. I didn't care about life. But, in the end, I feel more grounded and rooted in my faith and everything that I'm doing. And, I pray every morning now. I get on my knees. And it hadn't been easy, man. It's just for a man where I was at, like I was upper echelon of this club. I was well respected. And you know what? All that respect, all that, hey, that's Lil Dave's internet. I'm over it. I'm good. I'd rather be just David, from Temple City, and I'm just right here with my family mending fences, and everything's coming together, like I felt like everything was falling out of place, but it's falling into place, but it took me to go through this to be the man I am today, and it keeps getting better.
You mentioned Bobby Loco and how he was so important in your life, right? When you first came around the club, and he was like your mentor. Here we are basically 30 years later. Do you feel like you're mentoring someone or a group of people, in your life now? And how does that make you feel? Like, do you feel fulfilled? Does it fill a void? Because we're kind of sensing that from a lot of the guests we've had on, is that when they get a chance to give back, they really feel good about it themselves, and they really feel good about what they're doing.
Right. So my thing is, and I'm still writing my manuscript, and everybody's been asking me, and it's just taking me a while because I have to be in the mood to write. I have to be in a right state of mind, but I want it to be about service and impact, especially with the youth, just like the road that Mooch has taken on his book and paying it forward, and basically giving back to people that, like I wouldn't say the 1%er like community is just like, look, I humanized our club. Like everybody thought we were just like the most horrible people, like, oh, they beat up people in bars, they kill Hell's Angels, they sell drugs. So when I did that thing on Lisa Ling, it really humanized the club as a whole. That shows us as parents, as grandparents, as as family men and people that work for a living, that have 9-to-5 jobs. So with the whole mentor thing, look, I'm low key, I ain't gonna lie, I got some brothers that still call me, like asking me advice and questions, and I'm in a different state of mind than I was in the club, and they know that. And some of them like are even thinking of joining the club, that hang out with certain chapters. Like, I just tell them, look, this is what I went through, take it for what it is, but this is the outcome, and I think it just doesn't ever end well. And like I said, I'm in a better place, and I just try to, I'm not going to sway, like, you're your own man, like every man stands on his own 2 feet. So if you're gonna do what you're gonna do, you're gonna like I try to dissuade people to not join clubs. Like I got a good friend that wants to join the Vagos, and I'm having these heart to hearts with them on my patio of my house, and I just said, look, man, it's not for everybody. You know, everybody wants to glamorize that lifestyle until you're in it, and then you're sitting in a jail cell, fighting a case. So I don't think it's for everybody, but everybody has to make their own choice in life. But you know, to me, if you want to call me and ask me for advice, I try to sway you not to join the club and just keep doing you and riding as an independent rider. If your passion is riding Harley Davidsons and having, you know, freedom and being free on that bike, but it's not for everybody.
You know, Dave, like you said before too, you wouldn't change what happened or what you went through because it shaped you for who you are today.
Right.
And just for our guests that haven't been in clubs or you know been around that life, what are some positive takeaways from club life? Like, what are the lessons you can learn from being in a club that still carry on with you now that you're not in a club?
Some of the lessons,
like being a man of your word, showing up on time, like all those like things that you learned, you know, when you were younger that you learned in club life, and now it translates into how you are as an employee or a family member or a friend.
Just everything is about respect to me. Like, you know, like when you're in the club, we have such a structured environment. Like you were saying, we have more rules and regulations than society does. And with that being said, you learn structure. And that was a big takeaway. Like I was a big procrastinator. Like I was never on time, and like I'm on time now. Like I figure if you're supposed to be somewhere at 11, you're late. You know, if you're there at 11, so always 10 minutes ahead or 15 minutes ahead. You just learn respect, and you learn by the rules, man. And I taught a lot of people to just respect law enforcement. People probably hate me for saying that, but I don't care. It's a two-way street. And we gotten so far because I had respect for certain people in that, or you know, law enforcement that was actually, we were targets. But you know what? At the end of the day, if you ain't doing nothing wrong, you ain't got nothing to worry about, right? So that was my mentality. So just all the structure and everything that I took, the respect and everything, you know, everything is earned. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that another takeaway is those relationships we built, right, with other clubs, other members. That's why you're here, with that relationship with Jason. Right. But building relationships, I think, is a huge takeaway as well.
It was great. I met a lot of good people along the way, and you know, being on the road a lot, you know, you get to really know people, especially your own club brothers. But having these sit downs with all these upper echelons of all these clubs, you get to know people. And it's a respect thing, you know, it's an honor amongst thieves, like I said before, and you just come and hang out. You know, I've been in some really sticky situations where you didn't know if shit was going to crack or you weren't going to end up home that night. Like, it happened a lot of times. So by the grace of God, I always walked away fine and nothing ever happened. So that's again, another testament of me being able to speak well and diffuse a situation, a volatile situation that could have gone south bad, you know?
So you spent 25 years putting in work for the club and club life, and now you're putting in work for Dave and family life. So what are you working on now? What kind of things do you have going as far as businesses or projects? What do you got going on?
So right now I've been really blessed to get back into the body shop business, right? Body shop industry. It was my thing I was doing before I opened up the bail bonds business. So when I left Crestview Cadillac to open up my bail bonds business with my wife, I had just started as the national P, right? And then we started opening up chapters everywhere. And I didn't get back into the industry because my bail bonds business really took traction and it started blowing up. And we did that for literally the time I was in the club for like the 13 years as the international president. And now I'm back in the body shop industry. It took me about a year to get back acclimated because a lot of stuff has really changed in the industry. But I'm a 9-to-5er again. I'm happy. If you ask me if I like my job, I'll tell you I love my job. You know, I'm a general manager of a big shop here in the San Gabriel Valley. They value me. They really like me. I enjoy working again. And I just kicked off a cannabis delivery business. So I have a dispensary out of Costa Mesa. And that launched about a month and a half ago. My wife and my daughters are running it. So I got my hands in a bunch of stuff, and I'm just happy, you know, like everything's coming together and everything's falling into place for me. And I'm just happy and I'm blessed to have my family back in my life that supports me and I support them. And, you know, they've still got, you know, little hiccups here and there, but at the end of the day, you know, I've really changed. And you know what? Smoking cannabis, I'm not just plugging it. It's really helped me change my attitude on life. And, you know, with the whole sleep pattern now, it's just chill. And, you know, rather than fly off the handle, if I'm having a bad day, I'll come home, smoke, and just chill. And, you know, the old David, I can't even stay up past 9 o'clock anymore. I'm like dead ass tired. I get up to go to, look, I get up every day at 4:15, 4:20. I'm at the gym like at 4:45 a.m. I'm out of there by 6:15. I'm at work by 7. I grind for 12 hours. I don't have to be there 12 hours, but I get shit done and I work hard all day. And that's why I'm in the position I'm in, because they saw what I'm worth. And I'm happy. I'm good with that lifestyle. You know, I tire myself out all weekend. I spend with my wife and my kids. And just chill her. I had my granddaughter all day Saturday. Ran errands with her. She jumped in the car. She's 6 years old. She calls me Papa. And we ran all over. Took her to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee. Those are things that I enjoy doing now. Not being at the bar doing blow and doing dumb shit all day. You know what I mean? That's my solace. That's my freedom now, is spending time with my granddaughter, especially because she's autistic. So, you know, it's a disorder. So she was nonverbal up until recently. She's just really talking a lot. And, you know, I just enjoy it. And like I said, I'm blessed, man. Family first. God and family first. That's my new motto.
There's a reason. There's a reason
that you're happy.
Yeah, there's a reason that all this has come about, brother.
Yes.
There's a reason.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound cliche. Oh, everything happens for a reason. I hate that shit.
Yeah,
no, it didn't happen. You know, you know what? I made the best out of a bad situation, and I have no regrets. It was my path. Then, like I said, I had to go through all the shit I went through, and it was bad. Mooch will tell you. I felt like giving up sometimes, man. And it wasn't, oh, pour me I'm not the Pinot more. It wasn't about that. It's everything came crashing down at one time. Most people wouldn't have made it through what I made it through. Like, I'm not a headstrong guy at times, and I just like, I blow up, you know. I've learned to, you know, keep my composure, and just I'm more confident now again. I just feel good, man. I just feel good. I'm just in a really good place. I was in such a dark place for a couple of the last 2 years, and this whole last year I've just evolved. Into the person I am today. And just basically reinventing myself and just being a better person. Not shitting on people no more. I'm just not that guy no more, and I'm glad.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate you coming on with us today and you know, telling your story and sharing your experience with everyone. I really hope it helps people. But, you know, I love you. I'm glad you came on. Thank you so much. And you want to plug the business names or where people can find you? Or
Yeah, we're on social media on Instagram, West Coast Safe Delivery .com. We have our own app for your Apple phones. We have our own website, which has a vast variety of cannabis product and edibles. And I'm just so blessed to be in this industry. And, you know, I've got friends in the industry, and they've really helped support me and help me with vendors. And my journey's not over. You guys just wait. I have 1 year under my belt. Give me another year and you guys are going to see it. And I'd love to come back and share everything that's going to happen in the near future. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to kill my blessings. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut for now, and stay tuned. Big things are coming, and you'll see.
And thanks, everybody.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you too, bro. Hit the subscribe button below and never miss an episode. Find us on Instagram at automoto.ent, at OG_mooch, at Jason_Logan81. And for more info and episodes, go to automotoentertainment.com. Great episode. Thanks, Lil Dave. Thanks, Mooch. And thanks for tuning in. The Patch Podcast Series is brought to you by Oak and Iron, Craft Cocktail Bar in Thousand Oaks, California. By Outdoor Creations, serving the Southern California and Nashville areas.